Thank you very much for coming. You know, so often it seems like we gather when there's nothing but gloom and doom to forecast. Today we're here under a completely different set of circumstances, and I'm delighted to be able to provide this program, which is literally the collaboration of many entities of city government. We have the municipal court, we have the city attorney's office, we have the backing of the mayor because there will be a fiscal impact of sorts. And I'm very proud that we have a racial impacts committee within the MPD that is nobly led by my Assistant Chief Randy Gaber. And in particular, we have brought our restorative justice component as well as our marketing component, and together, collectively, have brainstormed and come to the conclusion that you're going to see today as we roll this out, and we're eager for Sunday. Bottom line is that I have occasion, as I'm sure the mayor's staff does in listening to constituents, to understand that the economic fortunes or misfortunes of many of our constituents have been somewhat beleaguered in recent years, so much so that people are behind the eight ball, so to speak. They haven't been able to meet necessarily all of their debt obligations, and then further compounding things is that when you have a forfeiture or a parking ticket and you don't have the capacity to pay for it right here and now because you're making desperate choices whether to feed your family or to pay the rent, it invariably creates problems, phenomena, defaults, and then your plates are suspended. And so, frankly, you cannot ensure that everybody is able to participate fully in the quality of life and the services that this city is prepared to offer unless you feel unfettered and an equal contributor to that formulary. So what we've done is that we have at least tried in this one small gesture to try to create an opportunity for people to get a hold of that debt structure and come to a special day where members of the municipal court and the city attorney's office and my court services unit will be there to see how can we better work with you in order to alleviate some of that angst, that apprehension, and that fear that if I'm pulled over tonight, or if I'm contacting someone for the police, or being contacted by the police, that those debts haven't resulted in my having a warrant out for my arrest. We want people to create an opportunity to look at payment options, or if payment is even untoward, perhaps community service restoration to deflect those. And so for our standpoint, I think that this represents an opportunity to show, unlike what we have seen in a Ferguson Police Department, where we've now seen nationally that 80% of their budget was predicated on fines and forfeitures. This is wholly, completely different paradigm for the city of Madison, where that's never entered into how we're going to deal with constituent and relationships. So briefly, I'm just going to offer this dais to members of the mayor's office, the municipal judge, and the city attorney's office briefly, and then we're going to ask you for their questions for anything specific to their role in this. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dan Kova. I'm the Madison Municipal Judge, and I'm pleased to be part of this combined project that we have going. One of the things that I'm looking forward to, I will be there on Sunday along with the city attorney staff, is to be able to talk to people about what their situations are individually, be there to approve all legal and appropriate payment plans or community service options that people may need. But I also want to emphasize for people that won't be able to attend on Sunday that under the law you always have a legal right to get a payment plan or a community service option, and if you aren't able to attend that, you can always contact the municipal court to set up that. So I don't want you to think this is the only opportunity for you to do that.
Hi, my name is Gloria Reyes. I'm Deputy Mayor to Public Safety and also acting as Interim Director for Department of Civil Rights. When Chief Koval came to us with this idea, we thought definitely this was definitely something we needed to support. We oftentimes find our residents who are in poverty, our youth who find themselves in a downward spiral when it comes to citations, and this is really an opportunity for us in the mayor's office to back something up that's so important and support the Madison Police Department and the city attorney's office and Judge Koval as we move forward on this process.
I'm Adriana Peguero. I'm an assistant city attorney and I'm the lead prosecutor for the city attorney's office. So our prosecutors, we will have a group of prosecutors there on Sunday who will be able to meet with individuals who have unpaid citations. They're going to be traffic tickets, parking tickets, and other ordinance violations issued within the city of Madison. So we'll be able to discuss people's cases with them, offer community service and payment plans that will be approved by the judge. So hopefully that people can come out of arrears, people can properly register their vehicles, can get a driver's license if they're able to. And so we hope to resolve as many people's issues as we can that day.
I'm Enos Ragland, Deputy Mayor for Administration and Finance for the city, and I want to thank Chief Koval, our City Attorney's Office, and Judge Koval for initiating this effort to address equity issues in our community. And I think that if it's successful, we'd like to expand it to Town of Madison, Middleton, Fitchburg, other communities, because many times our residents are not aware of which jurisdiction they're receiving tickets from. So it's not always from the city of Madison. So we hope this successful endeavor will be expanded throughout our suburban communities. And as Chief Koval said, it may have a fiscal impact, and I know we are prepared to address that in the 2017 budget, and we think it's worthwhile effort on behalf of the city to address, as I said earlier, equity issues in our community. Thank you.
Great. Joel, do you want to?
Okay, so if people have questions for any of the folks who are up here, please let us know what the questions are and who you'd like to direct them to.
So this isn't a get-out-jail-free card necessarily. It's just a way to pay your citations, right?
Yeah, correct. It's not an outright amnesty per se, because again, we still feel at the end of the day those tickets have some measure of where there has to be some accountability. There has to be a vetted process, and that vetted process is having gone through the court system. But I do think that the environment that we want to create is one of, let's work with you to make you feel in a place where you're more palatable and can go forward then, and not have to be looking over your shoulder wondering if something's gone to a warrant or whether you're going to be pulled over for suspended plates because you have no mechanism for addressing it.
What are some of the options available to people? There's a payment program and also
Why don't you try that one,
service.
Marcy?
Hi, I'm Marcy Paulson. I'm an assistant city attorney, and I provide legal advice to the police department. And
Very good legal advice.
and I was the lead prosecutor for 10 years. So the options are there are payment plans, and there's community service, and Judge Koval gives a credit of $10 an hour. So any nonprofit within the city, I believe he'll look at approving, and all of the agreements have to go through Judge Koval, so he has to approve those. There's also, we can look at, how many citations there are, whether we can reduce some of the penalties down, and then set up the various payment plans that we have available.
How will you decide which fines or forfeitures are, or whether you're waiving, reducing, or changing to community service? How will you decide which citation is?
Well, within the prosecution's division of the city attorney's office, we have prosecution guidelines, so no one's going to be treated any differently within those guidelines. Like, we're not going to dismiss a speeding ticket that if you came to court on Tuesday, we wouldn't dismiss. Everyone will be treated equally, but as far as reductions, we're just going to look at working through the process. And I don't know, Adriana, since you're the prosecutor, if you have something you want to add.
Well, when people come through the standard municipal court process, when they have forfeitures that are past due, they typically have to pay a $40 reopening fee. So one of the benefits of coming on Sunday is that all of those fees will be waived. So people will, right off the bat, not have to pay a $40 fee to try to get their cases reopened. And then prosecutors will meet with them. They use their discretion. Some tickets may be dismissed. Some may be reduced. And then, once we get to that sort of final resolution, then we talk about payment plans and community service. And Judge Koval has historically been very generous with people in terms of low payment plans and offering community service to pay off those forfeitures.
How low will you go, Judge Koval?
Well, I kind of look at it on a case-by-case basis. So when you're meeting with people and you're discussing what the city attorneys will typically do, and then I'll follow up when they submit the plan for my approval, it's kind of asking them questions about, where are you financially, what are your expenses, what kind of income do you have, what other expenses do you have, and then we try to be reasonable with that and look at what would be realistic for someone to do each month. Sometimes it might be a very low payment. I've had people that could only pay $10 a month. I've had people that will do community service because they can't afford any payments. So it's kind of on a case-by-case basis. But that's going to be the benefit of meeting with the prosecutors, to get to hear from each individual what their circumstances are and then try to craft something that will be doable for them.
Judge, what's been your reaction with some of these people where you've created some of these other mechanisms for them? I would assume that there's a sense of relief.
It is, because a lot of people, as the chief said, are worried about if their license is suspended, if their plates are suspended, or if they have a potential warrant hanging out over their head. So when they get these plans, it gives them a real sense of comfort and security that they know that they're not going to be pulled over and have that kind of potential hanging over their head.
So if somebody does have a warrant, should that warrant be withdrawn?
Typically, in these cases, there's not a lot of warrants issued. It's usually issues of more suspension of plates and suspension of licenses. If they did come in and set up a payment plan with us, then I would have the option to recall the warrant, yes.
And if somebody has a ticket and coming in, are they required to plead no contest? Because this is not a court date.
These are cases where they've already had that adjudication. So they've either gone to court in the past, pled guilty or no contest, or defaulted and had a judgment entered against them, or had a trial and had a finding against them. So this isn't going to be where we're going to be litigating the facts of the case. It's just to be resolving the outstanding payments that are due.
Will there be any citations that aren't eligible for the Sundays program?
This will deal with pretty much all the municipal court types of cases. So we have traffic, we have parking, we have some juvenile cases. We also have some building code, health code. It really runs the gamut of any potential case that someone may have with the city.
Can you talk a little bit about the fear that I guess you heard in neighborhood forums from people who, are worried about getting pulled over because of these things?
Yes, because I think that to some extent there is a lack of adult literacy about what the system can or cannot do for them. And so if left to people's own devices, it sort of creates this urban folklore that once these payments have gone outstanding, then that will be a mechanism in which the cops can pull you over and can do all sorts of things. And quite frankly, that's the exact sort of sentiments that we want to really take on through this affirmative program, to suggest that no, we do not want to be cast in a role of adversaries. We really literally want to be on the same page and look at ourselves as allies. We want you to be fully engaged as part of the City of Madison community. And in this sense, all you have to do is help us help you. And in that sense, you needn't fear about this shadow hanging over you. But there is a very palpable fear, and I hear about it at the neighborhood forums.
Is there a short list of not-for-profits that are already used for community service?
So we have developed a form. It includes the United Way Volunteer Center website. And I really want people, when they're doing volunteer work, to try to find an agency that interests them. So if you're interested in working with animals, reach out to the Humane Society. If you're interested in helping the homeless, go to a food pantry. So I kind of let them make the choice, but it has to be a nonprofit that is legally filed as a nonprofit. And then what they do is, once they've completed that, we have to have documentation from the nonprofit documenting the dates, the times, the types of work they did, and then verify that that was done. But I think it's better than telling someone you have to just go to this one agency if they don't really have an interest in that. It really sparks a lot more enthusiasm about them doing community service if they get to choose what type of service they want to do.
Does the city have an estimation of what the financial impact is going to be?
Not at this time. We don't know what it would be. We'll take an analysis of it as we begin to develop the budget for 2017.
One thing I would just like to add, though, to the Deputy Mayor's comment is I did get this question last night at a neighborhood forum as well, and one of the sort of questions that I would throw back into the lap of those who are questioning the fiscal responsibilities of this is that when we have all of these unpaid tickets, some of which may never actually ever see the light of day, I frankly would rather get a dime on the dollar than zero on the dollar. So it is sort of one of those things that I think we'll have to take a wait-and-see attitude and perspective.
Do you feel that this would take away from maybe the penalty portion of an ordinance, such as like, oh yeah, I could commit that crime, but I'll be able to pay it off in segments, no big deal?
Well, I hope that we're not creating that sort of an environment of fostering or enabling inappropriate behavior, but just to correct you a little bit ever so much on your jargon, these are not for crimes that have been committed. These are ordinances, forfeitures, which are specifically non-crimes. So these are behaviors which should not have ever been construed or assumed as criminal labeling. So we're just clear on that.
Other questions? All right, well, thanks everyone for coming.
Thank you very much.
And yeah, I think one of the other questions was, can the media come to this weekend?
Well,
is it something they can cover?
My question is, again, we're trying to create an environment of hospitality and not necessarily singling out those individuals who are courageous enough to come forward and to be unfettered. And I don't have a problem, I suspect, if people in the parking lot after people are done, if they care to comment, that of course is their individual prerogative. But we're not trying to use this as a sort of gotcha moment, and we're not trying to sensationalize it. We want to create an aura or an environment of hospitality, and in that sense we will having Amigos in Azul there as hospitality and greeters, and to act as emissaries of the department, and also act as translators for those who may need that service. And it's in a very non-conventional, non-court setting. That's why we picked the Villager Mall. We picked a place that had ample opportunity and ample access, and frankly we picked a Sunday basis on the fact that a lot of folks have 2 and 3 and 4 jobs, and we're looking for some window where we could maximize that participation. So it's not that 4th Estate is always welcome, but in this instance, I'm just saying that if we want this to be a true win, I would just assume people feel like they're not being sort of singled out or identified owing to the fact that they have some indebtedness to the city.
What if we have a ticket?
If you have a ticket, have you gone to court on it?
And is it a Madison?
Yeah, is it a Madison ticket? Thank you.
For those who don't know, Chief, can you quickly explain Amigos in Azul?
Oh, yes. Amigos in Azul is probably one of our most prolific outreach groups. It's a group of officers who have decided, and they're not all Spanish speakers, by the way, predominantly they are, but they have been a group that is specifically identified to do outreach to those groups which are underrepresented, and we want to be more inclusive in the fabric of our community. So Amigos in Azul is obviously looking for a greater level of participation in our Latino community, and they've done a phenomenal job in terms of youth and family outgrowth, and we have a youth academy that is chaired in large part by their participation. So they're wonderful. They have been embraced by the folks at Centro Hispano for years now, and are seemingly, probably of all our officers, they are among the most trusted officers in our department. And that capacity to be a Spanish speaker is an incredible gift, especially in this day and age.